The last 15 years have been great for sci-fi gamers. We've seen some amazing games come out with wonderful graphics, brilliant stories, and fun gameplay. Now, some games took us to different worlds, while others took us on a cruise through the galaxies. But you'll just have to stick around to find out which of these sci-fi games we consider to be the best of the last 15 years. And in no specific order, let's get into the video. So let's start off with Fallout 4. Now, we all know at least one person who's obsessed with Fallout 4. Heck, you might even be that person. And honestly, we do not blame you. With more refined combat, some of the best quests out of all the Fallout games, and the most welcomed addition of crafting and settlement building, it is no surprise that it is considered by many to be the best Fallout game. Now that Bethesda added support for higher frame rates and resolution, it is also considered one of the prettiest games if you consider a wasteland pretty. Now, we've seen many copy the post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland setting, but none have come even close to Fallout 4. It is by far one of the best games we've seen in the last 15 years, and with its mix of hopeful comedy and bleak pessimism, it had one great story. Next, Control. Control is the type of game you'll have dreams about, as it has one mind-bending story. It's unsettling, enthralling, and has amazing combat. As you expand Jesse's abilities and go through shape-shifting and haunted oldest house, the story keeps players hooked and feels different from anything we've seen. As you go through the game, you'll feel super powerful, but not even a second later, you might find yourself feeling isolated and alone. Control's story has quite an unnerving feeling as it explores the idea of how scary experimentation really is and how bad some discoveries can turn out to be. With each new revelation Jesse has, she's driven closer to insanity, and we as players feel her pain and regret. You should give Control a chance if you haven't already. Now, the Outer Wilds. Humans have wanted to explore the outer reaches of space for years, and many storytellers have told us that everything out there might not be as friendly as we would hope. The Outer Wilds captures the thrilling feeling of embarking on a journey to the outskirts of one's solar system, wondering what might be waiting for you. Now, the Outer Wilds gives players only 22 minutes of puzzle solving before the sun goes supernova and ultimately forces you to start the time loop you're trapped in. One might think 22 minutes isn't a lot of time to explore, especially since you want to solve the puzzle, but the Outer Wilds encourages exploration and wants you to admire your surroundings, even if you have the feeling of impending doom breathing down your neck. Let's get into the next one, Dead Space. Few games capture the horrifying feeling like the one you get when you first play Dead Space. Yes, we had Resident Evil 4, which was considered by many to be the best horror game ever, but Dead Space showed us that even with a gun, it wouldn't help much when you're too afraid to look at the monster in front of you. The game had a fantastic sound design, a minimalistic HUD, and scary enemies, all of which resulted in one of the scariest games we've ever gotten. The makeshift guns didn't help with your fearful feelings, as they only cemented that you're a normal human stuck in a nightmare. This game is one of the best sci-fi games out there, and is definitely worth your time. Let's get into one of my personal favorites, Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 had one of the best campaigns we've ever seen, but this wasn't the era where companies wanted Halo killers. This was 2016. The shooter failed to meet sales expectations, although it had great reviews from players. The little moments throughout the game made Titanfall 2 so great, with BT being a great companion and the gameplay being more than amazing. Fans remember this game fondly. The game's multiplayer mode was also a lot of fun, leading many of us to spend countless hours with it. It was so successful that it inspired Respawn to create Apex Legends. However, the multiplayer mode will forever be regarded by many as the pinnacle of online first-person shooters. Next, Star Wars Jedi: The Fallen Order. We all thought hope was lost when it came to a new Star Wars game, but then a light emerged in the form of Cal. We saw Respawn Entertainment making another banger of a game with Jedi: The Fallen Order. Now, they took a note out of the Dark Souls book regarding gameplay. Don't worry, you're not a fat rolling Jedi, but the game was challenging and quite fun. Cal Kestis had some great abilities, and his lightsaber skills weren't too shabby either. The story was well told, and it's one of the best Star Wars tales of the Disney era. The game explored many lore areas that were only referred to in the movies, but it also showed us how tough the lives were for many under the Empire's rule. This game is full of action, and once you stop being lost in their confusing maps, you'll have a blast, or should I say blaster. This list won't be complete without Nier Automata. Nier Automata, potato patata. It's narratively one of the best games ever. It had amazing combat that works so well with the game's beautifully crafted world. As you play through the game, you'll be blindsided by twists and turns that you'd never expect. The game makes you think about when life begins and when we can consider artificial intelligence to be alive. Even when you think the game is over, it hits you with a twist as the narrative continues, leaving many of us enthralled in the story. If you haven't already, put this game on your Christmas list. Now, walking simulator, we mean Death Stranding. Many found Death Stranding to be boring, and this is quite understandable. Still, underneath the walking simulator and playing Postman, you'll find an amazing story. Who can forget the beautiful graphics that push the PlayStation 4 to its limits? I still have a hole in my ceiling from when my PlayStation started taking off. The game did have a few scary moments, though. Being chased by an enemy is 10 times scarier in this game, especially if you're out of P-bombs. The story that follows Sam Porter Bridges, who Norman Reedus plays, is amazing, and you'll connect with the character. Death Stranding shows that Hideo Kojima is a genius, and he's not afraid to frustrate players or even bore them. He's a great game developer, and we're excited to see what he has up his sleeve next. Now on to BioShock. BioShock is a very polished horror shooter, but underneath all that polish is what really hooked players: the world. The horror-filled aquatic adventure you'll have in Rapture is something spectacular, and as the plot isn't a set story that goes from A to B, you'll have one amazing time learning more about the world and how and why you're here. Now, would you kindly go and play BioShock? Finally, Mass Effect 2. We all know that Mass Effect Andromeda is by far the best Mass Effect out there. EA, please let my family go. But Mass Effect 2 is just that little bit better. BioWare took the lessons they learned from the first game and made the sequel 100 times better. They also improved the story as they fleshed out the characters more and added more grit to each of them. The gameplay was improved and the gunplay was so much more fun. We also saw our hero, Shepard, return, and no, not Derek Shepard. Shepard has to stop an alien faction as they try to enslave and eradicate humanity once and for all, and it's all up to the crew of the Normandy to save mankind. The end of the game made this game stand out from the rest, as Shepard must consider what sacrifices will need to be made and what they will mean for mankind, and whether or not it is worth it. This is something that few choice-based RPGs get correct, but Mass Effect 2 did it wonderfully. As an honorable mention, The Last of Us. The Last of Us was a great game with many sad and fun moments. The father-daughter bond between Ellie and Joe was amazing, and the gameplay also wasn't too bad. From fighting clickers to fighting fireflies, there's never a dull moment when it comes to action. What makes this game brilliant is that everything means something. Each kill makes you realize that these things aren't monsters who emerged from hell. They're human beings whose minds and bodies have been overtaken against their will. If you're looking for a post-apocalyptic zombie game with a gripping plot that will have you on the edge of your seat, this one's a good bet. And there you have it. We hope that you've enjoyed our video and found it informative. In the comments, let us know which sci-fi game is your favorite. If not one of these, then what do you prefer? Remember to like and subscribe for more content just as suited, maybe even including this type in future videos or podcasts. Who knows? See you next time.